Christina answer this because she's the epidemiologist. It is, as if you had noticed, I'm not. But I only say 15 or 20,000 or more. I said double or more because you hear that is potentially a significant amount of a sampling daily, by the way. These are daily. So if it's 20,000, that's 140,000 tests a week that you're getting back, again, scaled and rapid return. Druthers, with a strong federal partnership, I'd like to test everybody on a regular basis in the entire state. Christina answer this because I'm only as if you had noticed I'm not. But as a non-medical professional, where I think the experts believe is a minimal standard to be able to give folks the confidence. Forget about what we think at one level. What's it going to take you to go to a restaurant or to a movie theater or go to a park once we've reopened? And you've got to have confidence that we've got a system in place that is both scaled enough, statistically significant. We've got contact tracing that can be nimble, and that we've got a plan to isolate folks. So with all of that, I will now turn it over to the experts.
Just on the central part of the state, as the governor said, we regionalized on purpose so that we did have the ability to move primarily equipment at this point throughout a region to send it to where it's needed the most. The intensive care units are tight in the central part of the state. We still have capacity because I really think we have flattened that curve. So peaks are lower and capacity is available. But we're prepared if we have to move patients down into the southern part of the region if we have to. But at this point, I don't believe we do. We expect this heavy hospitalization to go through mid-May, by the way. It's flattened and spread out.
Hey, Judy, just to add to that, it's not like there are no cases. Middlesex, depending on how you define Central Jersey, so that's for another conversation, right? Middlesex has almost got 9,000 cases. Monmouth, where I am, almost 5,000 cases. Right here in Mercer, you've got 2,753 cases. So you've got, even though it's not at the Bergen has got 13,356. It's not at that level, but these are many multiples, double digits, thousands in Central Jersey. Christina, in terms of testing protocols.
Well, first of all, I think it's kind of hard to say that there's a magic number for the number of tests. We have to look at testing also in the context of what tests are available, what are the diagnostic tests in terms of the turnaround time, because that helps also give a context of what makes sense as far as, what the testing strategy might be. It's more difficult, for example, if you have a turnaround time of results that's much longer versus, say, a point of care test where you get a result within 15 minutes in terms of your ability to quickly act on it. Because again, we have to remember, we have to tie the test results ultimately to something that's actionable. So it's this answer on testing strategy really depends on the whole context of what we have, what's available, the characteristics of the tests themselves, what people can ultimately do with the tests, how good the results of the tests are. So this is continuously a work in progress that we're still examining and discussing on the health department end.
As we go, we're going to go back up. Do you have a question, sir? Yeah. Before we get to you, though, just to underscore what Christina just said, it's a number of different factors here, including how quickly do you hear. So Judy has said, as have I, it's gotten better, but you're still 5 to 7 days in many cases. That's not enough, right? That's not fast enough. You can't. And then Christina's making the point. Okay, hopefully you get the test result back quickly. Then what do? You got to have the second step and the third step. You got to be able to isolate the person. You got to be able to trace who they've been in contact with. Again, we're pounding away on all of that, but that sort of gives you a sense of the architecture that we're going to need so that not only we feel confident, you all feel confident. You know what? It's okay to go back out again. Please.
Thank you, Governor. Apologies in advance. I was handed a few. First is, would you consider using an executive order to extend the deadline for property taxes from May 1st to June 1st, considering the stay-at-home order extends past the current deadline, or some towns' grace period? Second one is, do you have any updates specifically on the Andover nursing home? And are you investigating other nursing homes that are that share the same owner? Third, do you have any, or what are your comments on the wedding venue in Lakewood that's going to be allowed to host weddings? And then Mahin handed me one from ABC6, which is, do you intend on keeping the Atlantic City facility open and running longer than the others to potentially allow for the summer season to begin with some sense of normalcy? A surge facility would give local officials some degree of confidence that they can handle a potential uptick in hospitalizations.
So may I jump in and then you all can come in? Nothing new on property taxes. Andover, I think Judy addressed in other nursing homes. We'll give a short repeat, but I think you've already addressed this, but we can come back on that. The wedding venue, listen, I want to gather as much as the next guy, but we can't allow that to happen. So I'm not sure if Pat's got any more insights, but we cannot allow folks to congregate. And that's got to continue to be the case. In the Atlantic City facility, we've already said that we sort of, thanks to my colleagues, they had sort of mapped out how these facilities, and frankly, it's more than facilities. It's equipment, as Judy said, as a general matter. It's manpower to our heroic healthcare workers. But I think we also said this the other day and previewed this notion. We have to be prepared for this thing to come back and rear its head again. And I know no one wants to hear that. And God willing, we could have the sort of stuff that Dave asked about in place so that, and we could have therapeutics that may be developed over the next X number of months and ultimately a vaccine so that you can mitigate what it looks like when it comes back. But we know from the H1N1 experience, this sort of virus does come back, even if we bat 1,000 in terms of all the steps we take. So having these facilities available, I'm not specific to Atlantic City, for instance, but having these facilities available and again seeking federal funding to allow us to continue to keep them ready to go is a priority. As it relates to the shore and the season, I was asked in Wildwood this morning, I would love nothing more to be able to cut the ribbon on a great Jersey shore. We just can't. It's April 21st. We can't say that yet. Whether Atlantic City is open or not relative to whether the shore is wide open, partially opened, etc. I don't think there's a whole lot of correlation with that. But we're going to make all these decisions based on the facts and the science. So thank you for that. Anything on Andover that I think we've largely hit it, right?
Yeah, we're pretty much, the Attorney General is looking into it, as you know. And as the surveyors go to the long-term care facilities, if they see something that has to be reported, we have a direct line to the Attorney General, and we would report it. At this point, I don't believe there are any, but it's an open line. You said, Judy, since Friday you had 30, your teams have surveyed 30? 21 plus 11.
32.
32.
Okay, since the end of last week.
Yeah.
Thank you. Brent, you get to wind us down here.
So how are you defining Central Jersey then? That's not like a jokey question. So is it Union to Burlington County? How confident, I think you addressed this a little bit, but we had a specific colleague ask this. How confident is the state that you are getting accurate info from nursing homes? When will you post reports about the 21 nursing home inspections that were done last week? What have you decided on testing at nursing homes? There are only 5 to 10 tests available per day there, is that correct? How many people were assigned to the division that inspects nursing homes, and have more been assigned since the pandemic? With testing sites in Paramus and Homedale sometimes not hitting daily capacity, are you being too strict with just testing symptomatic people? And is this a sign you can start testing asymptomatic people?
One more.
And last question. Are you still working on reopening hospitals in Woodbury and Plainfield?
So reopening?
Hospitals in Woodbury and Plainfield.
Okay.
Thank you.
Honored. It doesn't matter how I define Central Jersey. It matters how Judy defines Central Jersey. Right, exactly. I think a lot of these, Judy, are over to you. I would just say the only one I wanted to comment on Bert and Pat as well, Bergen Community College and Homedale. I think, as you've heard by our answers over the past number of days, we are reassessing the entirety of the testing regime right now. Again, not just to lower infections, to help folks like Christina understand this in as granular detail as possible, but also begin to figure out the pieces of that architecture that we need in place to reopen. And certainly in that regard, you're going to have to test not just symptomatic people. You're going to have some statistically significant broader testing of the population. But Judy, how do you define Central Jersey for your purposes?
I'm not going to do it off the top of my head. I'm going to bring you a map tomorrow.
Okay, we'll follow up with you. There is an explicit.
No.
We'll come back to you. Accurate info on nursing homes. You're asking, is it accurate or?
Is it accurate? We had a report today that 3 nursing homes said that there's gaps in the system. So.
Yeah, the information is self-reported. It goes through our communicable disease system, and that's what was posted. Some of the nursing homes are saying, well, it's not exactly accurate. So we're giving them opportunity to clean up the data. I can tell you it's directionally correct.
21. I'm sorry. You asked about the 21.
When will you post reports about the 21 nursing home inspections that were done last week?
Now, the nursing home that Andover that was reviewed with the feds, with CMS, they'll post that. And I don't know what their time frame is. I know that the survey team is working on the reports, and they'll post when the reports are completed. Again, I can't give you a time frame. There's a limited group of men and women that are going out to survey. They're the ones that were appropriate for PPE and fit testing, because they go in with full PPE. And some of the fit testing, some individuals could not wear an N95. And then they were too large. We had to get smaller ones in. It took us a little while to get the appropriate protective gear. We'd rather them out in the field than at home writing reports, but they have to do both.
And how about reopening Woodbury?
We have Woodbury on reserve. It's ready to go at a moment's notice, and that's exactly how we wanted it to stand up. I want to thank Inspira. They've emptied it out. It's in very good shape. Like, we have beds in reserve if we have to bring them up, and we will. We also are bringing up Salem, the Army Corps, and I believe the National Guard are at Salem today. And Salem will bring up a number of beds that we will be using for higher acuity med-surg patients.
So with that, this will be a little harder to do. Thank you all. Just to repeat a couple of things. So tomorrow we're going to be at East Orange, Mahan, at 10:45. Again with General Semonite, who is the senior officer of the Army Corps and an extraordinary leader. We will then be at Newbridge at noon. Is that correct? And then we will be back here at 3 o'clock tomorrow. We don't have visibility yet into Thursday, just because Thursday is sort of a potential usual White House VTC, and we'll come back and let you all know the minute we know. And again, to everybody, first of all, I want to thank our Commissioner, Judy Persichelli. I want to thank Dr. Christina Tan, Colonel Pat Callahan, Jared, Paramel, the whole team. Again, folks, keep doing what you're doing. Staying home, staying away from each other, wearing masks whenever you're going out or near anybody. Be careful with some bad weather, which may still be passing through today. Never forget on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, happy birthday, Governor Kane. And again, folks, what we're doing is working. This is not going to have to go on forever, but it is working. And as we continue over the next days and few weeks here, we will be working aggressively to develop the sort of infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure that we're talking about. Testing that's rapid and scaled, contact tracing that's nimble, isolation so that we have the confidence we can look you in the eye and say, you know what, we think it's safe to take the following steps. And far more importantly, you hear that from us, you see the facts, and you agree with us. That's sort of what has to happen. Let's keep cracking the back of this virus. Let's not just get to the top of the curve. Let's start going down the back end of that curve as aggressively as possible. And better days are ahead. God bless you all, and thank you.
you.